Some disappearances just don't make sense. People vanish, leaving nothing behind, not a footprint, not a sound, not even a clue. In Clearview County, Colorado, where the pine forests are so thick you can barely see the sky, one disappearance has haunted everyone for decades. Deputy Elaine Harper didn't go missing at night, and it wasn't a stormy road. She vanished in broad daylight, on a road she knew like the back of her hand. Her cruiser, her badge, even her uniform gone. And some folks say, if you drive past mile marker 47 slowly enough, you might still hear her engine hum, even though there's no car around. Elaine was good at her job. People trusted her. Stranded drivers, lost hikers, even the stubborn loggers knew she'd stop and help. But on October 17, 1978, the mountains just took her. 1 minute she was there, checking on a broken-down truck near Thompson Bridge. The next, she was gone. No tracks, no fight, nothing. Just silence. And the forest? It's like it swallowed her whole. Even now, people still whisper her name, asking themselves, what really happened to Deputy Harper? And who or what was responsible? The morning of October 17th had been crisp, almost painfully clear. Elaine arrived at the sheriff's station at 6:30 a.m., coffee in hand, notebook in her pocket. Officer Mark Jenkins remembered her humming a tune as she inspected her cruiser, checking the tires, radio, and emergency gear. She joked about grabbing a slice of cherry pie at the new diner near Highway 89 after her shift. Routine, simple, normal. By 7 she was already on the road, patrolling the Thompson route. The stretch of highway curved through dense forests, open meadows, and steep hills that fell into shadowed valleys. Elaine loved it, the quiet, the space, the freedom. She waved at a few joggers and smiled at a man walking his dog. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. At 2:43 p.m., her final radio transmission was logged. Code 7 lunch, mile marker 47, Thompson Bridge. Her voice was calm, professional, nothing unusual. But by 3:15 p.m., she hadn't resumed patrol. Dispatch tried to contact her repeatedly, static, nothing. By 4 p.m., officers were on the road, flashlights cutting swaths through the thick pine shadows. The initial search yielded nothing. Her green cruiser was gone. Her uniform vanished, no tire marks or signs of struggle. Volunteers joined, combing riversides, abandoned cabins, even old logging trails. Hours turned into days. Weeks passed. Snow came early that year, covering potential clues with white silence. Clearview County had never experienced anything like this. Then, in March 1979, something strange surfaced. A prospector named Tom Reed found a small leather-bound notebook half buried in thawing mud near an abandoned copper mine about a mile from Thompson Bridge. Waterlogged, frozen in parts, the notebook contained entries in what looked unmistakably like Elaine's handwriting. One passage read, "I think someone is following me. I can feel eyes on me. I need to be careful. The mountains, they don't feel right today." The entry stopped abruptly on October 17th. No further explanation, no closing statement, just empty pages. Who or what had scared her so badly that she fled into the forest, or worse, never returned? Over the next 2 years, the investigation uncovered more oddities. Several local residents reported strange lights around Thompson Bridge at night. Flickering glows that didn't match headlights. Glimpses of green fabric moving among the trees. Distant engine noises that stopped whenever anyone approached. Some even swore they had seen a figure in uniform, moving impossibly fast through the pine shadows. Detective Frank Callahan took over the case in 1981. He mapped the reports, noting patterns around abandoned logging camps and old mining shafts. Callahan hypothesized that someone or something was using the forest to target isolated travelers. His team conducted grid searches, checked cabins, and used tracking dogs, but Elaine's trail remained cold. By 1983, a hunter discovered a fragment of a green jacket snagged on a branch near Thompson Bridge. Forensic testing could not confirm the origin. The fibers were degraded, but the discovery reignited hope that Elaine had survived, at least for a while. Then came the whispers. Locals told stories they usually kept quiet. Strange noises at night, abandoned campsites, and footprints that appeared overnight in places that had been searched repeatedly. Some even suggested that the forest itself seemed alive, shifting, hiding evidence, or perhaps guiding victims deeper into the mountains. By 1985, a group of teenagers exploring an old logging trail stumbled upon a shallow cave concealed by fallen pines and moss. Inside, they found scraps of what appeared to be a forest ranger's jacket and a rusted flashlight. Nothing that could be definitively linked to Elaine, but enough to make investigators wonder if she had tried to hide or been hidden there. Detective Callahan returned to the site multiple times, mapping the cave, photographing it, and even using small drones to explore further. Each trip revealed odd things: broken branches in patterns that seemed deliberate, footprints too small to belong to any adult man in the area, and faint carvings on stone walls that looked like initials and dates, some from 1978. Then, in 1987, an elderly miner named Henry Grady came forward. He recalled seeing a woman matching Elaine's description, carrying a small backpack through an old mine shaft entrance in late October 1978. Henry had told no one at the time, thinking she was just a hiker. But the details matched too closely to be coincidence. The jacket, the hair pulled back, the green cruiser left parked a mile away. Callahan began connecting dots, but every lead seemed to evaporate. Hospital records from the area were incomplete. Some logs were missing entirely. Staff had moved on or passed away. There were rumors of a makeshift camp deep in the forest fire pits, a small tent, evidence of someone surviving in the woods for weeks. Yet nothing definitive ever surfaced. By 1990, the Clearview County Sheriff's Office officially marked the case as cold, though a handful of detectives, led by Callahan, continued pursuing sporadic leads. Every so often, someone would report seeing a green cruiser humming past mile marker 47, or catch glimpses of movement in the trees that seemed deliberate. By 1991, Callahan had retired, but Elaine Harper's disappearance never left him. The case haunted his dreams, the silent roads, the pine shadows, and that last radio transmission. He began working privately with a small team of volunteers, former deputies, local hunters, and a young geology student named Lisa Montgomery. Lisa had a deep knowledge of the mountains, drainage patterns, and the hidden ravines where water and mud could obscure evidence for years. Together, they started retracing Elaine's last known route, paying close attention to every overlooked trail, every abandoned cabin, and every slope where someone or something might hide. One early April morning, Lisa called in excitement. "I found something near the eastern ridge of Thompson Bridge," she said, voice shaking. "It looks like a campsite, but it's old, abandoned." Callahan drove out with his flashlight, cutting through the dense fog. Hidden behind fallen logs and thick brush, they discovered a small clearing with fire remnants, a rusted camping stove, and a torn piece of green fabric tangled on a branch. It looked remarkably like part of a deputy's jacket. There were footprints, but the mud had hardened, leaving shallow impressions that seemed impossibly deliberate, as if someone had walked the same path repeatedly in a controlled manner. Among the scattered debris, they found a small, battered notebook. Most of the pages were illegible, water-stained, and partially eaten by insects. Yet several entries were clear enough to read. "I can hear the wind differently here. It whispers, sometimes louder than my own thoughts. I must be careful where I step. They might be watching." The handwriting was unmistakable. Elaine had survived for some time beyond her disappearance. But what she meant by they remained a chilling mystery. Over the next few months, Callahan and Lisa explored more of the forest around Thompson Bridge. They found additional signs of temporary habitation: a makeshift lean-to built against a rock outcropping, a broken lantern, a few canned goods hidden under a pile of pine needles. The more they found, the clearer it became that Elaine had not been instantly taken by the forest. She had tried to survive, to hide, to move carefully through the wilderness. Yet the deeper they went, the stranger it became. Several hunters and hikers reported unusual occurrences in the area. One man swore he saw a figure moving silently through the pines at twilight, wearing what looked like a forest ranger's uniform. Another said he heard engine hums like a cruiser coming from a dirt road that hadn't been traveled in years. And on more than one occasion, Lisa felt as if the forest itself was shifting, hiding paths and then revealing them when she least expected it. In September 1992, a new lead came from an unexpected source. An elderly woman named Martha Green claimed she had seen Elaine in late October 1978, a few weeks after her disappearance, near a small mining shack on the edge of the forest. Elaine had been with a man, tall, dressed in dark clothing, and his face shadowed by a wide-brimmed hat. Green didn't see her again, and she hadn't told anyone for fear of being ridiculed. Callahan and Lisa investigated the mining shack site, only to find the structure collapsed and overgrown. But scattered around were signs someone had lived there. Footprints, a rusted bucket with remnants of water, and a small collection of what appeared to be personal effects: a watch, a small pocket knife, and a worn pair of gloves. Nothing had names, nothing confirmed identities, but the area suggested that Elaine may have been found or held for a period. By 1993, Callahan's team had mapped dozens of hidden clearings, abandoned cabins, and old logging paths. All seemed connected by a rough triangle around Thompson Bridge. Each location showed signs of careful use, but none contained direct evidence linking Elaine to them. Only hints, shadows, and fragments of items. Then, in late November, a hiker stumbled upon a small, hand-carved sign partially buried in snow. It read simply HP78. Callahan recognized it immediately: Elaine Harper, 1978. Nearby, there were faint scratches on the bark of a pine tree, almost like a desperate attempt to mark a path. The discovery electrified the investigation. Someone, or Elaine herself, had left coded markers in the forest. But the question remained: had she survived long enough to leave these signs, or had someone else placed them? Stranger still, some of the paths they mapped led to dead ends, cliffs, or dense thickets where movement would have been nearly impossible. Yet footprints and small shelters indicated repeated human presence. It was as if someone or something was deliberately confusing trackers, guiding them one way and then erasing evidence behind them. By 1994, Lisa had begun using early GPS mapping technology to overlay historical sightings, discovered items, and the mysterious markers. Patterns began to emerge: routes Elaine might have taken, areas avoided, and the locations most likely to conceal clues. They even theorized that seasonal flooding had carried items downstream from the Thompson Bridge area, possibly explaining the earlier scattered discoveries of jacket fragments and personal effects. Yet, despite all the evidence suggesting survival, no direct confirmation of Elaine's fate ever appeared. Hospital records, ranger logs, and witness accounts remained incomplete or contradictory. In some instances, it seemed the forest itself had swallowed everything that could have answered the questions. By 1995, the mystery had grown so intense that even seasoned investigators whispered about it. The vanished deputy, the coded markers, the makeshift camps, the strange lights and engine hums. People stopped venturing too close to Thompson Bridge at dusk. The forest seemed to take on a life of its own, hiding secrets and keeping answers just out of reach. And still, Elaine Harper's story remained unfinished. Each clue only deepened the tension. Each discovery hinted at a survival struggle, a hidden captor, or some force in the forest watching, waiting, guiding. The mountains of Clearview County kept their secrets, and the question echoed louder with each passing year. What truly happened to Deputy Elaine Harper? By the end of 1996, Callahan and Lisa had pieced together a strange mosaic of clues, each one more confounding than the last. There were torn notebooks found wedged under rocks near abandoned logging roads, entries written in Elaine Harper's unmistakable handwriting, describing hours of wandering through the forest, rationing her food and water, and narrowly avoiding wild animals. There were makeshift shelters constructed from fallen branches and old tarps, some of them containing footprints, charcoal from fires, and fragments of equipment she had used in her patrols. And yet, despite all this, no one could confirm a sighting of her after that day in October 1978. No hospital records existed of treatment, no trace of her outside the forest, not even a hint that she had been rescued by anyone. The detectives pored over the reports again and again. Every eyewitness account was frustratingly vague. Some hikers recalled seeing a woman in a blue uniform moving silently along a ridge, disappearing behind a wall of pine as if she had never been there. A truck driver remembered a patrol cruiser abandoned near the edge of Thompson Bridge, but when search parties returned hours later, there was nothing, no vehicle, no sign of disturbance, nothing at all. The forest had a way of erasing everything, leaving only whispers and shadows. One particularly chilling lead involved an old, disused logging camp 3 miles from the bridge. Lisa had discovered worn footprints leading from a collapsed cabin into the dense forest. Among the ruins were scraps of paper, some bearing sketches of the bridge, annotated with cryptic notes. Light on the steel. 347. Watch the river bend, and they are here. I must hide. The handwriting was Elaine's, but the words carried an urgency and fear that no one could decipher fully. Were the they people something else? Or was it the forest itself, bending reality around her as she struggled to survive? Callahan returned to Thompson Bridge repeatedly, walking every trail, every hidden path. He spoke with elderly locals who remembered seeing strange lights at night flickering through the trees near the river, as if someone was signaling or watching. They whispered about figures moving silently across ridges, glimpsed through fog and mist. No one dared go too close. The bridge and its surroundings had become a zone of superstition, a place children were warned never to enter after dark, and adults treated with unease. Then came the discovery that truly shook them. In a small ravine near the logging camp, volunteers found a journal wet and partially rotted, but legible in parts. The first entries detailed Elaine's resourcefulness, how she had fashioned traps to catch small animals, collected rainwater, and marked trees with symbols only she would recognize. Later entries grew darker. She wrote of hearing voices in the wind, lights that moved independently of any source, and the unsettling feeling that someone or something was following her every step. Her handwriting became frantic, sometimes almost indecipherable. The final entry, dated October 24, 1978, read, "I think they know I'm here. I have to move. I can hear the hum. Closer now. If anyone finds this, do not come. They are patient, and they wait. I have to go." That was it. No further notes. No signs of her departure. No remains. No trace of her outside the forest. It was as if Elaine Harper had been swallowed completely, leaving only the forest and its secrets. Callahan and Lisa knew that what they had uncovered was extraordinary. Elaine Harper had survived for at least a week in conditions no one could imagine, leaving evidence of her ingenuity and will to live. Yet the final hours of her ordeal were shrouded in total mystery. Did she escape? Was she taken? Or did something in the forest, human or otherwise, intervene? Every lead, every scrap of evidence, only deepened the questions. The forest around Thompson Bridge continued to hum with unanswered questions. Every rustle of pine needles, every shimmer of sunlight through the fog, carried the weight of Elaine's disappearance. Locals still spoke her name in hushed tones, warning children and strangers alike to respect the woods. Every mile of Clearview County seemed marked by her absence. Every darkened logging road, a silent testament to what had vanished there. Callahan and Lisa never gave up. They returned year after year, checking abandoned cabins, combing the rivers, interviewing anyone who might recall a memory from that October. And every year, they left with more questions than answers. Elaine Harper's fate was never confirmed, her story never fully told, yet her presence lingered like a shadow, like the faint hum of the patrol engine. On an empty road, a reminder that some disappearances are never meant to be understood. The forest offers no answers, only echoes, only the ghost of a life vanished. And though decades have passed, the memory of Elaine Harper, the deputy who vanished in broad daylight, haunts Clearview County still.